What's going on, everybody? Good morning. 11:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's Thursday, June the 4th, 2020, 11:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And this is episode 64 of MCRAE Live. 64 of MCRAE Live, ladies and germs. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're, hanging in and not getting yourself too emotionally caught up in what's going on around the world right now. And what I mean by that is I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't care. I'm just saying that, try to temper your anger, try to, not get too crazy, not to I'm going to tweet something. I'm going to, son of a bitch, and then, you're like, I shouldn't have tweeted that. Oh no. You know what I mean? I see it. I see people doing it. I see it happening. So hopefully you're doing okay and things are moving along swimmingly for you and you're not too crazy. Yeah, hard to believe we're already up to 64 episodes now on MCRAE Live. It's great to see people rolling on in. Tabitha Short, how you doing, Tabitha? Frank Riker, Lauren Downing is here. Paul O.C. is here. Machete Slasher, Terrell Sims, a nobody. He's a nobody, but he's here. He's here. So yeah, on this episode, I just wanted to, I have talked about this in the past. I do have a video on my channel, but it's from a couple of years ago now where I talk about this. And I just thought, since, the news in the world of entertainment, there's a lot of entertainment news, but certainly in the world of horror and the movie world is sort of still on the down low. And, yeah, what was I going to say? But nonetheless, things are still moving forward. I was with Bruce last night. We were going over the equipment that we have for shooting our teaser, and we are excited about that. And the teaser trailer for It's Me, Billy. And just to say again, it's the epitome of a teaser. There's not going to be a lot to it because we obviously haven't shot the movie yet. So, you're not going to see any footage from the movie. I mean, we could recreate something, but we decided not to do that. But it will be a little something that we are going to shoot for the Indiegogo campaign. It's essentially an Indiegogo campaign teaser for It's Me, Billy. And we were together last night. If you follow me on social media, I posted a couple of photos of us going over the gear that we have, and we're hopefully going to shoot that in a couple of weeks. And our goal right now is to launch, and again, this is subject to change, but our goal is to launch the campaign come July 1st. That's the goal. It all depends on what happens if the world goes completely bonkers and there's a spike in COVID and everybody's out of work again and things are shut down, and well, it probably won't be launched. But we're sort of assessing it. It's a 3-month delay. Unfortunately, we were going to launch in April, but it doesn't look like now until July. But that may mean that we were hoping to shoot in November, but of course, that may not happen. It all depends if we raise the money. still don't know what's going to happen there. But first things first, we got to raise the production budget and launch that campaign and whatnot. So I'm excited about that. Things are still moving on or moving forward behind the scenes in the world of, at least in our world of independent film and of course, that little 30-second teaser at the beginning of the show today in regards to the campaign, and we're very excited about it. We're hoping to have a Zoom Skype call, Zoom/Skype, or I'm not sure which one we're going to use yet, next week with everybody, the main cast, which will be exciting. But we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen there. We got to coordinate schedules and things like that, and but very excited nonetheless. But today I want to talk about Halloween 5. Really, Dave? Why? Well, like I said, a couple of years ago, I did do a video on this, but I thought this would be a great topic for MCRAE Live. And, I wanted to sort of reiterate and give my thoughts on what I would have done with Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Now, I say The Revenge of Michael Myers because that is what the movie is called. I don't know if I was writing the script, I would have called it that. It may have been out of my hands. There might have been a number of subtitles on the table, and that's the one that the studio liked. And, it's the way it's going to go. But certainly what we got in Halloween 5 was atrocious. It was an absolute shit show. Now, if you love Halloween 5, that's great. I can never take that away from you. I can't take it away from you, folks. I can't take it away from you. But certainly, it's a fundamental catastrophic failure. And I have often said in my videos that Halloween 5 is the catalyst that destroyed the franchise. Now, what I mean by that is you can trace everything back to Halloween 5 as sort of the entry point of when the series began to go really downhill. Now, having said that, some people will say, yeah, but it was Halloween 2 because, the original intent was only to have one movie. Yes, if you want to get that specific and say, hey, really, when you made Halloween 2, you destroyed everything. Because it's true. That is true. Once you made Halloween 2 from 1981, as much as I like the sequel, I think we all do. It's good, right? Certainly, that completely just throws everything you were trying to create in the original out the window. That is true when you look at it from the original intent, right? But in terms of a franchise perspective, Halloween 2 is a pretty good sequel, right? Then you have Halloween 3, which is Season of the Witch, okay? But that didn't derail anything. It's just kind of like a bump, like, oh, whoa, hey, what the fuck's this here? What's going on here, right? Okay. We'll get Michael back on track. Okay. So they get Michael back on track. Well, whether you like Halloween 4 or not, it did pretty well at the box office, relatively speaking, to its budget. Obviously, it was a success for all intents and purposes, and it was yes, there's the mask and all that kind of, but it was a decent return. I've often said that I think Halloween 4, late 80s, trying to resurrect Michael Myers, it's fine. It's fine. It's certainly there's a lot to like there. They were in a good position. That's what I'm talking about. They were in a good position. Now, as I've often said, that it doesn't matter what you do. Inevitably, the more sequels you make, you will eventually run into dog shit films. That's inevitable. But Halloween 5, the creative choices that were made in Halloween 5 didn't have to be made. Sometimes it's nice to watch a series just organically fizzle out. And you're like, well, okay, part 6 here is really, but it's like Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell. What is that? Part 9, right? What the fuck is that? You didn't have to make those creative decisions. It was awful. It was awful. But then again, as I've often said, the reason why the sensational and weird seep into a lot of these films is because you are running out of ideas. And if you don't start to throw, subvert expectations and throw weird things in there, then you're literally just making the same movie over and over again. But Halloween 5 wasn't quite there yet because there was a break. There was a breather with Halloween 3. And then 4 came along. 5 didn't need to be what it was. 5 didn't have to be that. It was a very avant-garde, weird story that this Dominic, whatever his name is, was just so passionate about. And he should not have been allowed to do that because there was no... You can bring back Michael Myers, but you don't have to do it like that. And the production design was atrocious. I mean, why that? Like, you can't. I mean, I would have been the first to step in and say, okay, Dominic, I know in your story, I want the Myers house to be this big. Yeah, but you can't do that. You can't because it's not. You're not the first person in. It's like a Rian Johnson thing. You can't do that. If you want to create your own horror movie and you're the first guy in and you want to make a house, well, knock yourself out. But you can't do that. It's fucking dumb. It makes no sense. And it's not even close to being what the Myers... It's a great looking house. Oh, it's fantastic. Are you kidding me? I love that house. I love the look of it. It's fantastic. The castle-like thing on the outside, all the corridors and the laundry chute and, the big sort of foyer area. And it's a great house. But it's not the Myers house. It's not the Myers house. And anyway, there's a lot of issues with it, right? We know that the Man in Black was only thrown in there. He had a vague idea of what it might be, but he really had no idea what it was or where it was going to go. And his exact quote, well, not I'm paraphrasing his quote, is I'll just leave it to the people who are going to do the next movie. They'll figure it out. Right. So there's a lot of... You can enjoy it on its own merits if you want. Oh, it's fun. It's got some cool kills. Yeah, but every fucking horror movie has some cool kills. Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell has cool kills. So it's like saying, well, The Last Jedi looked amazing. Well, of course it looked amazing. It's a fucking Star Wars movie that cost $200 million. I would expect it to look phenomenal. If it didn't look phenomenal, there'd be something wrong. Of course, that's the bare minimum you would expect. Well, the music was great. Well, yeah, it's John Will. Of course the music's going to be great. What's the story? What's the narrative? What are the characters? What's the continuity? How does it roll out? So Halloween 5 was a disaster because it was from that moment on introducing this. That's why, well, that's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons why it took 6 years to get Halloween 6. Because they were fucked. And there were other issues too. But it was one of the reasons, like, where the fuck do we go from here? What the hell's going on? Should never have done that. There was a wonderful opportunity. I mean, the end of Halloween 4 is one of the greatest endings in the history of horror. That comes at the end of your 4th movie. That's impressive. One of the greatest endings in the history of horror. Now, Jamie doesn't need to be Michael Myers, or now it's Jamie. No. But how I would have approached this script is I would have looked at this and I would have said, okay, look, you've ended on such a high note here. We have to keep this momentum going. We can't take a step back. So what I suggest we do, and Mustafa Akkad probably wouldn't... Look, I know Mustafa Akkad is considered the godfather of Halloween. I understand that. And I'm not here to, bring him down. But the reality is that he's the financer. And, he had next to no creative input on the origin of Michael Myers at all. That was Irwin Yablans and John Carpenter. In terms of Halloween, the movie, all that kind of stuff. Mustafa Akkad didn't understand. I don't understand it. What is it? Okay, but you say, how it is. You've heard him, in the interviews. Okay, well, I think that'll be right. Okay, let's do it. And he was great. He was great, right? But he's often said that, right? Oh, Michael Myers, I'll stop at 22 films, or something like that, right? Or he'll keep going till he's dead. Love Mustafa. Who doesn't love Mustafa? He's amazing. but somebody needed to be like, hey, Dad, or, Grandpa, or, hey, buddy, Mustafa. I think but that's not how Hollywood works. The idea that he was allowed to sort of run with this and he didn't care about anything. It was just about making, I don't know if he saw Michael as I don't know. Anyway, I could go on and on about that, but I understand people love him because, and who doesn't? But, sometimes what you love about somebody is equally what you don't like about somebody. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes somebody's most beloved qualities are the things that also can annoy you, at the same time. Mustafa Akkad was a brilliant producer, but somebody needed to be like, hey, whoa, the fuck is this? What are we doing? And, he did have sort of a little bit of a battle between him and the director of Five. But it was a garbage movie. It was a garbage movie. Absolute garbage. And I mean, it is a gigantic step down from 4. Gigantic step down from 4. And 4 is a gigantic step down from the original. So if 4 is a gigantic step down from the original and a bit of I'd say a big step down from 2, but it's fine in its own right. And 5's a gigantic step down. I mean, it's shit. Anyway, this is not a Halloween 5 rant. So what would I have done? Well, I would have approached it like this. I would have basically said, we have to keep Michael Myers away from here for the first little bit because we want to build the suspense. We want to misdirect the audience. And what you want to, now, when I say misdirect the audience, I don't mean completely keep them in the darkness because you obviously know that Michael is coming back. That's not a surprise. That would be in the marketing. That would be in the trailer. You would see Michael return. It's not a surprise, but for the journey, for the enjoyment, right? Watching, because sometimes you watch a movie and you're put in the same position as the characters on screen. The characters have no idea what's going on. You have no idea what's going on. So it's like you're living vicariously through the characters. You're one of them, like you're part of the group and you're on this journey together. And when they find and discover information, it's at the same time that you find it out, right? Or I should say, when you discover and find out information is at the exact same time that they do, right? So you kind of like, you feel like you're on this journey together. Films are done that way all the time. And then also films are written where the audience is a little more objective, right? Where you know what's going on, but the characters don't. But the enjoyment is watching the characters discover what you already know. You know what I mean? We see movies like that all the time too. And so this would have been that kind of film, right? Like, that Michael is going to return because he's in the marketing, he's in the publicity, he's in the trailers, the TV spots, the poster, all that kind of stuff. But the characters don't know that, okay? And the characters, what happens is that the characters believe he's dead. And Jamie is Jamie's taken to Smith's Grove. She's taken back to Smith's Grove, on the advice of Dr. Loomis. He doesn't want a repeat of Michael Myers. Jamie you could have her as a mute, I guess, if you wanted to. That's not a big deal. But she's on Loomis does not want, what the fuck here? We got to take her out of here. And so they take her to Smith's Grove and they lock her up, Now, is she like Myers in the sense that she's, catatonic and she's not speaking? I mean, maybe there could draw some parallels there. I think would be cool because you're trying to now again, the audience already knows, but it's that misdirect, right? You're enjoying watching it sort of unfold. You know what I mean? Watching the characters like, oh, I know something they don't, kind of thing, right? Oh, the characters think he's dead. And it's, you can set it like, a couple days before Halloween the following year, whatever. Dr. Loomis is her doctor. He's, I don't know if he was retired in Halloween 4. I forget if he was retired in Halloween 4 or not. He might have been. He might have been. Okay, let's say he was retired. Well, this brings him back, okay? And he just wants to assess this girl. And if he was on the verge of retirement, this keeps him from, this delays his retirement. Whatever. He needs to be this girl's doctor. He's obsessed with it. And they're okay with it because, he was Michael. I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy. And we have Michael's niece here. All right, let's fucking do this, okay? That already feels organic. It feels like a logical next step in the narrative, in the storytelling. You don't kill off Rachel, so you move it from Haddonfield to Smith Grove. You don't kill Rachel because Rachel and Jamie are the heart of Halloween 4. And it didn't start off that way. Rachel didn't want to have anything to do with Jamie. Not at all. She didn't want to have anything to do with her. You know what I mean? She didn't hate her or anything, but, Rachel's like, 17, 18. She's, it's the whole teen angst thing, right? And she wants to be doing her thing and out with her boyfriend and all this kind of stuff. And it's, oh yeah, my foster, sister. There's that side to it. But through everything they went through in Halloween 4, everything that they went through, imagine going through that. Imagine going through that and surviving everything from watching in the house and watching your boyfriend get his neck crushed to going up into the attic onto the roof and everything and falling off the roof and shit. And then in the truck and him on top of the truck grabbing your shirt. Like, can you imagine that? Can you imagine going through something like that? You and this little kid. It brought them closer together. At least it should have. Now, do we see a little bit of that in Halloween 5? Yes. But there's a disconnect there because it's not really about her as so much as it is about just knowing the shape is there still. It was weak because yes, you can see that Rachel is affectionate with Jamie. You can see that. And that's good. That's a good thing about 5. But that needed to be the heart of the movie. Because we are now emotionally attached to these two characters, and we need to continue that journey with these characters because the audience is very attached to them now. At least they should be. So Jamie is in Smith's Grove. Rachel doesn't die. Rachel is there and attending, being with her sister. Her mom and dad could even pop by. I don't think, were they killed in part 4 or 5? 4 or 5? I don't think they were, right? I don't think so. So they could be there as well. Now, they're not the heart of the movie, all right? But certainly they show up and they're there and, we know they're there. So it's not like, well, I guess her foster parents abandoned her or something. No, not at all. They're there. Maybe they do get killed in the movie. Maybe they get killed by Myers. That would be cool. So what is happening in the narrative, even though you as an audience knows that this is, it's not Jamie, is that they're very worried about her, and Rachel's very worried about her, and Halloween is approaching, and Loomis so there's that, he sees the calendar, right? He sees the calendar, and he's thinking that something's going to happen with this little girl because he's looking at the calendar. I don't mean he's literally looking at the calendar, but you know what I mean? He's aware, he's aware that, it's October 29th or something like that, right? Only a couple days to Halloween. And we know what happened last time. Now, Jamie's still a girl, not a teenager per se. She's still like a 11, 12-year-old girl, but he's looking at it and he's looking at her and he's worried about it. She's not speaking. She's not, is this Jesus? You know what I mean? And for the first, maybe act of the movie, the first act and maybe halfway through the second act of the film, so roughly halfway through the movie, maybe the first 45 minutes of the film, it is this mystery suspense sort of it's eerie. There's a lot of suspense that's building, a lot of questions, and you're watching this play out and Jamie's very, acting very strange. There's no communicating with her uncle or uncle, see, it's none of that shit. She doesn't speak. And then Halloween rolls around. It's Halloween. So the entire thing takes place at Smith Grove. Now, that doesn't mean that every single moment is at Smith Grove, but that's your central hub. I mean, I'm sure Rachel drives back to Haddonfield to go to school or to hang out with her friends, and you can see that there or whatever. And maybe she has a run-in with a few people, or I mean, who knows, right? I mean, but the central hub is Smith Grove. Take it back there. And Halloween rolls around, and some weird and unusual things begin to happen. Okay. You want to like bring Michael, because the thing that I hated about 5 was that, you know, again, I didn't like the way that we saw him climbing out of the mine shaft or whatever and floating down the river. And we should never see Michael in a vulnerable situation. You know, I've often said that we should never see Michael's process. And what I mean by that is that I had somebody with, what do you mean? We see his process all the time. I'm like, no, I mean in terms of if he's in a difficult situation, if he's vulnerable, if he's weak, we should never see Michael weak. We should never have seen him kneeling next to a water fountain in shackles going, oh, shucks, they caught me. At the end of that was, and his mask is still on, right? You know what I mean? Should never have seen that. Never have seen that. We should never see him crawling. Oh, shit. We should never see that. Oh, floating down the river. Oh, should never see that shit. Because he's the boogeyman. And, you know, one of the reasons why Mike Tyson has such an aura of mystique around him is because we never saw him in vulnerable situations. Not until Buster Douglas, 1990. And then a bit of that mystique went away because we knew he could be beaten. We saw him lying on the canvas. And Buster Douglas, I mean, kicked the shit out of him. I mean, he was a big, it was you know, those final punches, and it was amazing. There's Mike Tyson, baddest man on the planet, heavyweight champion of the world, undefeated. You know, how many first round KOs? Like 29 or something fucking ridiculous like that at that time. Something like that. You know, there he is, lying on the canvas. 3, 4, 5. He's picking up his mouth guard. 7, 8. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. Right? It's the same with Michael Myers. It's how you create the foundation of the character. It's different seeing Jason like that. It's different seeing Freddy like that because of the foundation for which they were created. Michael was created and built on a foundation of the boogeyman, the unknown, the mystique, the mystery. You know what I mean? To see him vulnerable and weak is weird and strange and lame and sad. So we should never see that. Doesn't mean he's not crawling out of the mine shaft, but we don't need to see it. You know, we don't need to see him skin his knee. We don't need, I'm sure that happens. I'm sure he's feeling pain somewhere, but we don't need to see it. So what begins to happen throughout the course of this movie as we watch the relationship between Rachel and Jamie continue to evolve. And it's almost like Rachel wants to break through to her. And maybe Rachel's the only one. That's a nice dynamic there too, is that Loomis is doing what he's always done, but it's actually taking Rachel. Rachel's the one that maybe breaks through to her. And maybe Jamie's the one that begins to speak to Rachel. And maybe there's a moment, because throughout the first act of this movie, the audience, again, now we know, but the characters are petrified that Jamie's going to be another Michael Myers, right? Going to be another Michael. That, of course, that's not going to happen. But they don't know that. And Loomis is so scared, so petrified, he believes that that's possible. You know, and fall is here now, great fall environment and things like that. It's like, fuck, he wants to prevent this from happening. And then instead of him actually getting through to Jamie, maybe there's a moment where it's Rachel that makes the connection. Do you know what I mean? That maybe Rachel, there's a moment where maybe on Halloween, Jamie speaks for the first time in a year. And she said, I don't know what it would be, but she says something to Rachel. They have some sort of little conversation that lets Rachel know and the audience know and Loomis know that I think things are going to be okay. I don't think this is like that, 20 years ago, whatever. I don't think it's like that. or 10 years ago, I guess. Yeah, because this would have been 88, 89. So yeah. But I mean, like maybe like, back in 1963. So whatever that is, I don't know. I don't know what that is. But there's something that lets Loomis and everybody know that, okay, maybe this is going to be okay. Maybe this is going to be okay. Maybe this kid's going to be okay. This kid's going to be okay. I think this kid's going to be okay. She's going to be here for a little bit longer. We really need to work through this, but I don't think this is going to be another Michael Myers thing. Now, we don't know that for like the first 45, obviously we do, but you know what I'm saying? We don't know that for like the first 45 minutes of the movie, or they don't know that, right? But then there's that moment. And what that is, I don't know, but there's something. And it's Halloween. And Michael's back, and Michael is looking for that girl. Now, again, I'm throwing original intent out the window and all that because this is franchise. Michael does have a motive. He is supernatural. He's not like the Michael in part one. So I'm not talking about it from that perspective. I can talk about it from both perspectives. So you franchise fans will enjoy this, I'm sure. So he wants his revenge. That's his motive. I mean, he wants his revenge. He wants to find that little girl. He's here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way. I mean, he wants her, right? And he goes searching for her, and he just knows. How does he know she's there? I don't know. He just knows, right? And on Halloween, things begin to get crazy. And of course, me, I'm a stickler for mood. I would definitely have a storm rolling in on Halloween. I would have Halloween day begin very cloudy, atmospheric. Michael. I think the first indication that he's back would be, and there's no death. This would be so cool. Oh my, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it because of the slow burn and how you build that suspense up. So for the first 45 minutes of the movie, there's no death. There's there's no killings, right? You're watching this. It's not a drama, but it's like a suspense, eerie, it's so focused on Jamie and Rachel but the mystique of Myers, the boogeyman, the aura and the essence is all through it because it's that buildup, it's that anticipation, for his eventual return. So it's there, it's absolutely there. But then when shit's about to go down, it's Halloween, it's the morning time, and Jamie's parents are her foster parents, right? Rachel's mom and dad are getting ready to, if they didn't die, I don't think they died in 4 or 5, right? Or if they died in 4, or if they died in 4, no, sorry. I don't think they died in 4. I don't think so, right? No. They're getting ready to go and visit Jamie on Halloween because it's Halloween. They want to do this. Even the stepmom, it's been a year. She's recovered. The stepmom survived, right? So or her foster mom, she's recovered. She has no ill will to the child. She knows where the child comes from. She knows all the psychological things, and things like that. We'll say that she survived the scissor attack. And what happens is the morning of Halloween, Jamie's foster parents were going to go and visit her at Smith Grove. Rachel's already there because maybe at this time Rachel lives on her own now. Maybe she moved out on her own or something. Maybe she's, I don't know, something like that. Or if she didn't, maybe she left early on her own. Maybe she's got her own car now, right? It's been a year. She left early on her own. Mom and dad will be up later today. Oh, okay. Whatever, right? But one of the neighbors goes over, or maybe one of the neighbors notices Rachel's mom and dad's car in their driveway with the doors open and nobody's there. And the neighbor's like, what's going on? I forget her parents' name. I call her, I don't know, Barbara and Doug. I don't know. Like, Barbara, Doug, are you guys okay? And the front door's open. It's like, oh, get the fuck out. She goes inside. It's really eerie. She goes inside. It's all dark. Even though it's the daytime, it's kind of dark in there. And she's looking around and she's stepping on glass and shit. She's walking around, soundscape in there. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And she comes across their dead bodies. And it's like, oh, what the fuck? She comes across their dead bodies. Well, that of course, she calls the police. She runs back to her, her house. She calls the police. The police show up. They're like, who the fuck did this? It's, they don't think it's Myers right away. They're just like, it's fucking somebody, but at the same time, it's like, but it's Halloween. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck is going on, you know? And of course, that news eventually gets back to Rachel, which gets back to Dr. Loomis. Loomis begins to think, oh my God, you know, whatever. He starts to kind of think, you know, and everybody around him at Smith's Grove are like, Loomis, you know, let's not just calm down here for a second. It's awful what happened, but it doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, she's safe here. She's behind closed doors, all that kind of stuff. And then what's cool is that from between Haddonfield and Smith's Grove, there's a body trail. But you never see the killings. Oh, don't worry, you'll see some killings. But to build this slow burn, to build this pathway to Smith's Grove and to Jamie, you don't see the killings. You just see the end result of them. And so it starts with the parents, right? And then maybe there's some death down the street at the gas station. Got to have a gas one in there, right? You know, and then maybe further down the street at somebody's at a store. Like it's you can follow the trail and follow the times of death and see, and it actually it's actually on its way out of Haddonfield, and it's like, oh fuck, like that's like, it's like, yeah, it's so eerie to think like you could the bodies, you can track the bodies, and then it's like, oh man, do you know what I mean? Michael King says, is Meeker in it, Dave? Oh, absolutely, 100%. Meeker would be, you know, he'd be part of the clan that maybe he shows up, sees the dead bodies of Rachel's parents, right? And are like, lock it down. You know what I mean? And you haven't, it's 45 minutes into the movie. You haven't seen Myers once. I know what you're thinking. That would never fly. No, but you know what? If it did fly, if it was like that, I bet you $1,000 you'd be like, this is fucking awesome. You'd be watching this movie going, this is amazing. Because of the burn, because of the building, the whole movie, there's this burn that's building. You know it's coming. Do you know what I mean? There's this burn that's building and building. And usually when we watch horror movies that are like that, they do very well critically and with fans, because they're tapping into this into the psyche of the audience, and they're dangling the carrot. They're not giving you too much too soon. You know what I mean? And of course, the last half of the movie is going to be like hell. You know what I mean? But there's that buildup. You know, you've earned it. It feels earned and not shoehorned in. You know, and that, yeah. So Meeker is trying to get on the phone to Loomis because Meeker's all worried now. The cops around him are like, "Come on, boss or sheriff, it's you like you shot him yourself." But Meeker knows now. He's like, we got to be sure. You know, and then Meeker's the one that sort of maybe pieces it together a little bit where, you know, he looks at the, you know, maybe so there's Rachel's parents' bodies and then something over the radio like, Sheriff, we got a couple more bodies down here at Dan's convenience store or whatever. And he's like, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? It's I mean, it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Fuck, you know, and whoop, you know, they go over that, and you know, they walk in and there's some dead bodies there, and it's like, you know, and they're looking around, what the fuck is going down? What the hell is going down? You know what I mean? And it's that trail that they slowly see that it's leading to the outskirts of Haddonfield, and it's like, oh my God. You know what I mean? Get on the phone and call Smith's Grove, you know? And it's like, fuck, you know? And then Smith's Grove goes into a fucking lockdown, Of course, that doesn't stop Myers, right? And you play Myers as the boogeyman, you know? You play him that way. How does he get in? How is he there? You know, it doesn't matter. He just is, you know? Because you can do that with a character like Myers. So, and that's where it leads to. And as you can see already, and again, look, there might be a lot of people in the chat room who have been paying attention to what I'm saying. I don't know if anybody, or if everybody is, who maybe hear this and go, nah, I don't like it. I like what we got better. That's fine. That's fair. But I don't think I'm going out on a very thin limb to say that I think there's probably a few people in here that are probably like, yeah, I like where you're going with this, because it feels like a natural sort of evolution of what we got in 4. We're pushing the narrative forward. We're continuing to evolve characters that were already established in that movie and continue the narrative, right? Continue pushing this, ending with, no, and it ends there. And now we've pushed that forward, right? A year later, it was a year later in, part 5, but it's not that Michael's not in it, but it takes the focus that would naturally be on this girl. When you end on such a, oh my God, and then you cut and it's like nothing happened. That's almost like Halloween. I mean, listen, I know she's in the the children's hospital for whatever. She's a mute and all this kind of stuff. And I get, okay, fine. She has some sort of uncle. Okay. But it doesn't, it's a step down. Like you hit such a high and then you kind of drop down like, oh, so that's what we're doing? You know what I mean? It would have felt better if you hit this high and then you kept it here. You don't have to go higher, okay? You don't have to go higher, but keep it here. Keep it right here. Oh, you can't even see me. Keep it right here, right? And push that forward. Just push it forward. All right, so she's in the hospital. Loomis wants to, it feels more natural that way. It feels like a natural evolution of the story. And I think that's why to some people in the chat room would probably be like, I kind of like where you're going with this. Even though, and I think, even though you're Myers crazy, and everybody's Myers crazy, I would like to think that you'd watch this movie, and if it was like this, you'd be like, I don't care that I didn't see Myers for 45 minutes. I'm okay with that because everything around it is so strong, and the build, the anticipation is so like, man. Like imagine that scene where Meeker comes across the bodies on Halloween morning, right? And you do hear like a sound, something around go, tick, 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 tick. It's not Halloween music per se, right? Not in the traditional sense, but it's just like a pump, 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 pump. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Sheriff, we got something down here. Pump, 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 pump. It's like, fuck, what is going down? And it feels earned, and it feels, yeah, it's just a better way of approaching the film. And, whether it would have done well, whether it would have resonated with audiences, I don't know. But I think even if it had failed, I think in retrospect, you would have looked back at it and I think I would like to think that something like, at least for me, because I'm speaking about me, those are the kind of films that I like to watch. That's the kind of anticipation I like to see. Do you know what I mean? Like when you watch The Invisible Man, and I wasn't crazy, I didn't love The Invisible Man, but certainly The Invisible Man had that slow, right? It had that build. Imagine that in Halloween 5, like that kind of that build where people are like, no, come on, what are you talking about? And and all, like and then when shit does happen, it feels earned. It's that type of thing, and so obviously they think it's and it's not even confirmed that it's Myers, but Meeker is certain that it's Myers. He's like, no, fuck, we can't take any chances. We cannot take any chances. And Loomis is like, it's gotta be him. I mean, he's losing his shit. They want to put him in a straitjacket. And so they lock down Smith's Grove because they can see the trail of bodies are leading to the edge of Haddonfield. And then there's just country road between there and wherever Smith's Grove is, which I guess is 150 miles away, right? And then maybe there's like, they're getting reports, there's another body in I don't know, maybe Russellville is between Smith's Grove and Haddonfield. Maybe you got to drive from, maybe when you drive from Haddonfield, you have to drive through Russellville to get to, who knows? I don't know. So maybe you hear something like, Sheriff, we got a body at such and such in Russellville. Something like that. It's like, oh my God, he's getting closer. It's like, fuck, and you're saying, bum, 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 bum. And the anticipation in this movie, it's like watching a tsunami, like watching the wave way out there, but you're like, oh my God. Oh my God. it's coming. You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, right? And then, of course, there's also, like me, I love my storms. There's a storm that rolls on in. You know what I mean? The clouds are getting darker. Lightning is flashing in the sky. Oh, come on. Tell me you wouldn't love that. Tell me right now you would not love that. Think about what we got in Halloween 5. Think about what I'm saying. Tell me you would not love that. I mean, come on. Storm rolling on in. You can see sheet lightning sort of illuminating the horizon. Bum, 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 bum. It's like, oh my God, no way. You know what I mean? It's like and you see the storm is, it's used as a symbol for Myers, right? He is the storm that's moving on in, and he's pissed. Now that's the revenge of Michael Myers. You know what I mean? And holy shit. And Smithsgrove's on lockdown. Rachel is there with Jamie. So that relationship is tight, right? You've preserved that relationship, right? And Loomis is doing his thing with the other, doctors or whatever in his cane, and he's got his gun on him or whatever, and he's like, I'm not gonna let him die. He's gotta go down for good. The evil must die. He's typical Loomis, and Meeker and the cops and they get there, and they think they're ahead of Myers, you see. But what they don't realize is that he's already there. He's already there searching for that little girl. He's already there. And you don't need to know how he got in. You don't need to know, you don't have to create the impression that it's literally like he's a supernatural entity, like he's walking through walls or things like that. You don't have to present it like that, but you don't have to point blank on the nose show, him opening a door. Or you know what? You could do what you did with Halloween 2, right? Maybe there's just maybe it's a nod to that film. Maybe there's just a door that you see all of a sudden just kind of on the verge of closing, right? Like, we saw in part 2 there. Could do that kind of thing. Whatever. Okay, if you need to do that. All right. So he got in through a door, I guess. But so the cops are on lockdown, the thunder's rolling in, the rain begins to team down, lightning illuminating the sky at Smith's Grove Sanitarium. Of course, you got other patients in there too. You got other patients. You can hear it down the hallway and shit. Of course, I don't think Jamie would be in that ward. I don't think she would be necessarily in that wing. She'd probably be in maybe a children's wing or something to that degree, away from all that, because she's a child and she hasn't shown any sort of psychotic tendencies. Well, certainly she's stabbed. But beyond that, she seems to be, stable, and she probably is in her own kind of thing or whatever. But you could certainly have cutaways. You can shoot some B-roll, and get some shots like that. It's like, it just adds to the atmosphere. You know what I mean? And it's on lockdown, man. And they have like the cops out there, and they're all like, and they got maybe on the roof, whatever, with their shotguns. They're dead. They're like, no, he's going to be here. He's going to be here. And then eventually, of course, Myers does show up, and he has to show up in a Michael Myers way. Like, remember in Rambo, from 2008, Rambo 4, when that guy is there, and he's looking around, and then Rambo just slowly like rises behind him. He's got that Sylvester Stallone, just that says lips down like this, and he rises up like this. Oh, yes. That's what you got to do here. That's what you got to do here. And you've been waiting all fucking movie. See, one of the reasons why that fight with Rambo in Rambo is so satisfying is not just because of the epic violence and the blood spurting and heads exploding. Yeah, that's great. But if that had been in the first 5 minutes of the movie, it would have been amazing to watch and like, whoa. But part of the reason why you're like, whoa, fuck, when it eventually does start to happen is because it's earned, because the anticipation was building for it. So you're already going, there's this huge release. It's not unlike sex, I guess. But you know what I'm talking about, right? It's that, there's that buildup, right? And it's like, holy fuck. It's the same in storytelling, and so there's got to be a moment where like, yeah, like there's a guard or a cop or whatever, and he's there and he's ready, and the rain's pouring down, whatever, and all of a sudden behind him, Michael's mask emerges from the darkness. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he's there, he's back. There he is. You know what I mean? There he is. And just like he rises up, I guess, with a knife or something or whatever. Or maybe it's something he picked up along the way. Maybe he stopped off at a hardware store and he picks up something and it's like this big butcher knife. Oh, no, you know what? Fuck it. Make it a pitchfork. There you go. Let's keep the pitchfork idea from part 5, right? And he just goes like this. He rises it up like this. And you're like, oh shit, because you're not expecting that. You know what I mean? Because he's not in a barn. He's just all of a sudden he rises and you're like, oh shit. And just like, boom, right through the back and like, oh, and maybe his gun goes off, you know, like this or something. And people hear that. And they're like, what the fuck is that? What's going on? And they go up there to the roof to wherever he is or something. And the rain's teeming down and the lightning's flashing and the thunder's rolling on above and things like, and they find his dead body there with the pitchfork, you know, in his back or whatever. And they're like, he's here. You know what I mean? Or it's here. It's here. It's here. And it's like, shit, you know, and the power goes out and the emergency lights come on, boop, 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 whatever. Like, and Jamie's hearing that in her room and she's scared and Rachel's scared. And, you know, Loomis is like, don't worry, stay here. Just stay, lock the doors, whatever. Right. It's like, oh my God. Shit has just hit the fan. You tell me you wouldn't like that. Tell me if that was Halloween 5, you would not have liked that. Come on. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? That is what Halloween 5 should have been. That is what Halloween 5 should have been. You know what I mean? Now, how it ends and where you go from there, there's many different ways you can do it. You can have Dr. Loomis die at the hands of Myers, but if Dr. Loomis was going to die at the hands of Myers in that movie, I would have had him go out in a blaze of glory, right? Because he's one of the most beloved characters. He's the godfather of the characters, right? You could say that Laurie is, but I think he, you know, he's the big cheese, right? And so he would go out saving Jamie. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like Myers has got Jamie by the throat or something in some scene or whatever in the epic climactic scene, and Loomis comes up and is like, no, or something, and just like grabs onto Michael. It's like, oh shit, you know, and like whatever, and or shoots him in the head, or I don't know, and then something like that. Like he would have to go out, you know, in some sort of honor, dignified fashion for the old chap, you know? So like, yeah, Loomis, yes! Because then if he dies, you're like, oh, it sucks, he's dead, but man, he went out like a champ, man. He went out like a champ. He wasn't just like, you know, fell down a couple of stairs because his cane gave way or something, you know? So, yeah, so that's what I would have done. That's what I would have done. Now, again, how you end it and you know, whether you leave it open for a part 6 or you know, again, for me, you guys know me. If I was tapped to do that Halloween 5, I would say, okay, you want it to be left open for more. I would fight with all my heart with Mustafa Akkad to at least end it mature note. You know, not, again, like how I always say, not his eyes opening or him coming out of the closet. Just end it very much like you know, again, like my sequel concept idea, or end it like A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, right? Where, you know, the camera tracks, it pans over here. You got the guy there who I always think looks like Bill Maher lying in bed, and the paper mache, I guess, or popsicle stick or whatever it is, house of the Elm, model of the Elm Street house, and then just a little light turns on inside, which is impossible, you know, but it just goes ding, and it cuts to black. And it's like, oh, it's so like that's cool, you know, that's classy. It's classy. It's classy, you know. It still speaks the exact same thing, but it's not cheesy and cliche. You know, so I don't know how I would end this, but I would fight for that kind of a classy ending where you're like, oh, I see what you did there. No, you didn't. You know what I mean? Like that. It's like, not anything cheesy and lame and really on the nose. But that's what I would do, man. Rachel's alive. Loomis is alive. Jamie obviously is, for the first 45 minutes of the movie, essentially it's this building of these characters, and you think that they're worried that it's going to be, Jamie, and she's showing weird signs, and, build up everything else with great fall and autumn atmosphere and the leaves blowing, and you can see, and maybe it's like, we find out that Loomis is very worried about Halloween. I'm just worried about Halloween. It's in a couple of days, but I just, and he's so worried about it, and then maybe maybe the movie begins on like the 28th, right? But what ends up happening is each time a day goes by and we get closer to Halloween, it cuts to black and you just see on the screen like October 29th, and then October 30th. You know what I mean? Like it's slowly building to, we know something's coming. There's a very obvious build. It's very suspenseful. We're building towards something. And then of course, Halloween morning is the discovery of the dead parents of Rachel, and it's like, oh my God. And there's no explanation for, we're not seeing him crawl out of a mine shaft. We're not seeing him float down a river. We're not seeing, he's not with a hermit for a year. So he laid on a table on a concrete slab for a year. I don't know. Did he shit? Did he piss? Did he eat? No, he just laid there for a year, and it's just get rid of that crap. Get rid of that. He just shows up. He just does. Where has he been? I don't know. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in this movie because he's literally supernatural, right? He's literally supernatural. See, in the 2018 film, it's different because you've negated all of those sequels, including part 2, and said that this is a sequel to the original film only. Well, that original film, he's not literally super. He's not like he was in the sequels. He's got a supernatural side to him, which is supposed to remain unknown, right? So that's why you can't do that kind of thing. There needs to be an explanation of some sort when you do a sequel to the original film only because of the way it was constructed, because it's, the way that first film was. But if you're doing a sequel to 4 or 5 or 6, do whatever the fuck you want. You can do whatever. You can show him, crawling out, but you still want to preserve the enigma that is the shape, the integrity of the mystique. And when Mike Tyson was lying there on the canvas in February of 1990, and we saw the boogeyman, the baddest man on the planet, the mystique that is Mike Tyson, you know what I mean? Lying there, vulnerable and weak, it was weird. It makes you feel weird when you watch it. It's like, we're not supposed to be seeing this. You know what I mean? And that was part of Mike Tyson's success. Now, Mike Tyson is no doubt, look, he's not the greatest boxer of all time, but he is one of the greatest of all time, for sure. I'm not taking anything away from him, but part of the reason, part of Mike, you cannot understate, part of Mike Tyson's appeal was his mystique, was the aura, was the boogeyman, was the intimidation, that was part of the allure of Mike Tyson. And but when somebody found a chink in his armor, they exploited it. But you have to preserve that enigma with Michael Myers. So we should never see him lying on the canvas. We should never see him, vulnerable like that, because it ruins the mystique of the character, And so that's why he just shows up. Why are these dead bodies here? Oh my God. No, Sheriff, that's impossible. Lock it down. Sheriff, lock it down. Sheriff, you fucking shot him yourself. Sheriff, you shot him yourself. You fell into the... Lock it down. Check the mine shaft. What? Check it. Let's get a group of people. Let's check it. Sheriff, all those... Check it. You know what I mean? That's like, oh, fuck, no. You don't need to see it. You don't need to see that. You don't need to see it at all. Anyway, so let's move over to the chat room. I spoke for an hour here. That is what I would have done with Halloween 5. And again, there's several different ways that you could have ended the film, but I definitely know that I would have ended it on a classy note. And there's no doubt that the studio would have wanted, the film to end with the potential for more, obviously. And okay, fine, I get it. I got to play by those rules. I understand. But I would have fought for, can we at least end it classy? Not overt. You know what I mean? Like, just not on the nose, I mean, right? Like something that's just like, okay. Now what that is, I don't know. You guys can comment below if you're watching this after the fact and let me know your thoughts, what you would have done with Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. What do you think of my ideas for Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers? Do you guys like my ideas? Would you have preferred to watch that movie as opposed to what we got? Comment below and let me know. And also in the chat room, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? So let me go over to the super chats here because a couple of them came in while you guys muster up your thoughts. Agent Priest sends in a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, good morning, Dave. Very well said, bro. Thank you very much. Intel Wild sends a super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, the comical music sound with the cops. Shake my head, hand covering my face. I hear you, man. I hear you. Robert Andrew Paul says, thank you, Robert, by the way, says, I have a feeling Anthony Michael Hall is going to do an awesome job as Tommy Doyle. I think he's perfect for the role. Robert, I could not agree with you more. I think he's going to be great. The Film Addict sends in super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, where are we here? The Film Addict says, a lot of the seats in the theater would have been wet from Halloween fans if H5 looked like the way you just pitched it, Dave. Yes. Yes. 100%. I'm telling you, man, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. And I'm not a fan of the franchise. I'm not as a whole. I mean, I enjoy 2. Obviously, it's my second favorite in the franchise. I like part 4 for its own, thing. Obviously, I think it's a decent return. Don't like 5. I like 6 better than 5, but I loathe the story in 6. I think 6 looks like a Halloween film better than 5. The mood is better, the cinematography is better, the atmosphere is way better, but the story is just garbage. So I can't get behind it. No matter which one I watch, the producer's cut, it doesn't matter. It's the same fucking story. So I just don't. I don't care for it. H2O, I don't like at all, really. And Resurrection, I don't like. Rob Zombie's films, I don't like. The H18 film, I enjoyed. I think it's the best sequel probably since early in the 80s. But I don't think it's necessarily a very good Halloween movie overall. I think it's a decent modern day slasher with a couple of Halloween things thrown in. You guys know my thoughts on that. But I don't hate it or anything. I certainly don't hate it like I do, 5 or 6 or H2O or, Resurrection or, whatever. But yeah, that's what I would have done. I would have done that because I understand the playground I'm playing in. I understand the sandbox I'm playing in. And I would have fought for that. I would have said, this is what fans would like. We got to make this, and the killing at the end of the movie, you would see cops get killed. You would see nurses get killed. You'd see doctors get killed. Oh my God. It would put anything that happened in Halloween 4 to shame, but it's earned. It's earned, right? It's not happening all throughout. It's earned. So the last, half hour, 35, 40 minutes of the movie, like the second half, like the end of the second act and all of the third act is where all the mayhem happens. But that first 40, 45 minutes or so, or an hour, because maybe it's a 2-hour film even, you know what I mean? They probably wouldn't want to make it a 2-hour movie. It'd probably still be a 90-minute movie, but the first 45 minutes is all of that. So it feels earned, it feels earned. And that for me, I think is I think that would have pleased fans big time. Gina Armstrong sends a super chat with a message retracted. Well, I hope it was a nice message, Gina, but thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate that. Let's see here. Reese Wilson. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Sends a super chat and says, Dominic the Hack. The film is a question of cat and mouse. Oh, yes, yes, yeah, I've heard this quote. The film is a question of cat and mouse, and we see the cat and we see the mouse. The mouse knows about the cat, and the cat is going after the mouse. Nervous pause. That's about it, I guess. Yes, that is an exact quote from the director of Halloween 5. You are absolutely correct. And Dominic didn't know what he was doing. And I'm not saying he isn't a talented director. I haven't seen any of his work. Deborah Hill spoke very highly of him. I mean, she was the one that pulled for him to be, the director on the film. I think he wrote it too, right? Or he helped to write it. I don't know. I think this was, the focus wasn't on story. It was just, let's just come up with the simplest thing and bring Michael back. And it's like, yeah, but if you do it this way, it might cost you a little bit more. Might take, maybe 8-9 weeks to shoot as opposed to 6 or something. I don't know how long 5 took to shoot, but just, a film of this nature usually takes, 6 to 8 weeks. Maybe it takes us 9 instead of 6, or 7 instead of 8. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I'm telling you, it's about probability. Fans are going to love this. Think about it. Smith's Grove, Thunderstorm, Michael's back, but he hasn't been in the movie. And then, oh my God, like it just would have been, fans would have loved it. I think so anyway, but maybe I'm wrong. It's a movie that I would have loved to have seen. I would have loved to have seen that. Of course, naturally, we don't usually describe things we don't like, right? But I'm hoping that most of you are like, yeah, I get it. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, awful stuff, Reese. I agree. Darren Zarzecki sends a super chat message retracted as well. I hope that's not something I hope you guys have just done that on your own, and that's not something funky happening with the super chats. But thank you very much, Darren. Really appreciate that. Darren Sands sends in a super chat. My man Darren says, unmasked shots and H-18 aside, do you think James Jude Courtney's public persona diminishes the mystique of Michael? Nobody knew Nick Castle in 78. That's a very astute and really good question. Probably not, because there's been so much of it since. You know what I mean? Like, I think, it's different now because of the social media age. That is true. But we all knew it was George P. Wilbur and Don Shanks and Brad Lurie and Chris Durand. And I think it was Chris Durand, right? The one that did H2O. Like, we all knew that, so, and Dick Warlock, of course. Even though social media wasn't a big thing that's a good question. I'll say this. I think there has to be some sort of effect like that. Whether it's huge or marginal, I don't know. But I think there's got to be something. There's got to be something, right? Do you know what I mean? There's got to be some sort of mystique that's lost when you know the actor behind it. He seems like a stand-up great dude. He really does. But there's got to be some level of mystique that's lost somewhere. That he's so, and again, I'm not saying that this is bad. It's just it's the time that we're in, right? As Darren was talking about, I think he's so good with the fans, but he's so out there. He does, interviews and his face is out there in conventions. And I think so. I think there is a level of mystique that is lost, because I remember back in the 80s, I was a big fan of Freddie, as a lot of us young boys were. And I remember my older brother, Neil, who's 9 years older than me. He was the one that got me into horror movies, Freddie and Jason and Michael Myers. And he knew the actor's name who played Freddie, Robert Englund. And as a 6-7-year-old kid, I was like, oh, that's so cool. But at that time, you didn't know what you didn't know what he looked like. You would have to go to a Fangoria, there was no internet, there was no computers, you didn't know what he looked like. Like, you just did not know what Robert Englund looked like. If you happened to see him in something else, or if, but it wasn't as accessible. So you're right. There was a mystique around just the aura of the character, and you didn't know what the actor looked like, and there were no conventions. Well, there were conventions, but not like now, you know what I mean? So I think you're right. Yeah, I think it does. I don't think people think about it, but I think it does to a degree. But I think the world we live in now, it would also probably be counterproductive to not be out there. You know what I mean? Like, to not be going to the conventions. It's just that it's evolved to this now. But I think you're right. I think it does. Because Because there was, it's like Darth Vader, right? You know, for years, I didn't know it was, it's like finding out, oh, that's David Prowse, you know, and then you look up, you know, the English bodybuilder who was in A Clockwork Orange, and yeah, there is a level. Yeah. I think so. I think so. But I've never thought about it, so I don't know to what degree. But I cannot imagine that it would not have some sort of effect. I cannot imagine. The world's just so different. It's like you can't do that now. Like you can't, you know, it's crazy. That's a really interesting, Darren. Thanks for sending that in, man. That's really cool. Let me see. Darren Zarzecki sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, quote from Dominic, director H5. I felt that sometimes I was Michael Myers in my life and I could feel how he is and so on, you know? Oh my God. Oh my God. So in other words, what he's basically saying there is, I was a loner, which could be very well true. Very well true. He was a loner. He was, he was a loner, quiet, introverted, you know, but were you a psychopath that murdered a bunch of people? Yeah. I think Dominic, I mean, like I said, he's famous for saying, and I'm paraphrasing, but I've said it, for saying, I don't know who the man in black is. He might have had an idea, like, oh, maybe it's that, or I don't know. I mean, he was the one that put the cult thorn, the thorn occult. But he had no idea where it was going to go. No idea who he was, how it connected to what it all meant. He had no idea. So he just, and he said he put that in there because he felt the film needed some mystery. It needed some sort of subtext of something else going on. And it's like, man, it's crazy, man. It's crazy stuff. Change camera views. Ooh, yeah. Put Michael in the shot there. Let's get Michael in the shot there. There we go. Yeah, put this down like this. It's like right in my face. There we go. That's not too bad. Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Okay, let me see here. Super chat just came in from Justin Simonson. Thank you, Justin. Says, it's great to see we have a lot of same ideas for a Halloween 5 script. Very cool. My question is, would you add Tommy Doyle? I added Tommy to mine since it's 1989 and he's played by C. Thomas Howell. Oh, right. Yeah. No, I wouldn't have, because I think it's irrelevant at the end of the day. I think it's, you know, when you find out after the fact that Tommy and I'm looking up there again. When you find out after the fact that Tommy and Lindsay were in the Halloween 4 script. Oh, that's supposed to be Tommy. That's supposed to be Lindsay. And at the end of the day, but it's not. Yeah, no, but it is. No, but they're never, it's not like, it's never revealed within the narrative that these are the same people from 1978. This is Rachel's friend Lindsay, but so what does that mean? If you don't establish that it's this Lindsay, then I can say it's not just as much as you can say it is within the narrative. Now, when you look at the intent, I know it's like, that was the idea we had and we had wrote it that way. Yeah, but it didn't make it in. It didn't, like, you didn't acknowledge it. So it's moot. It doesn't, I don't, like, without knowing that, it's like I can't stand having to read a book to fill in, you know, gaps. I put it in the movie. In 1988, nobody in 1988 watching that movie in the theater went, that's Lindsay Wallace. Nobody did. Because it wasn't presented as so. And it was only after, in maybe a Fangoria interview or, you know, because of the internet. Oh yeah, that was, it's like, yeah, but that's not, I never, ever watched that movie going, that's Lindsay Wallace, because it doesn't feel like it, because it's not presented to me as so, you know, and same with Tommy. So you know, you can't do that, man. You can't just, because anybody can do anything, you know. I mean, I can say, like I could say, it'd be like saying, in my film, It's Me, Billy. We know that Victoria Miro is playing Sam, the granddaughter of Jess Bradford, right? And she's spending one last Christmas Eve at her grandmother's old country mansion with her two best friends, Justine and Emma. Well, that would be like me in some sort of interview at the end, or whatever on a DVD or whatever, going, yeah, well, Emma is actually Sam's half sister, but nowhere in the story is that ever revealed. You would never get that. Never. I was like, well, what? Well, then why? Well, that was I had wrote it like that. And so but then, we didn't present it like that because, we didn't have time. But that's what I wanted, in the script. And now everybody just goes, oh, so that's her half sister. It's like, yeah, but it's not. It's not, because it's not, it's presented as, it's a friend. It's not, you got to put it in the movie, man. It's got to be there. It's got to be in the story. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent about that, but I've never, because if you don't do that, then anybody can say anything about anyone, Well, no, but Luke actually is the half brother of Han. He is. I mean, that was the intent, but we didn't. It's like, okay, but he's not, because you didn't present it. So he's not. In the story, nowhere is it presented he's half the brother. So he's not. Just because that was your idea, well, that idea didn't make it in. Anyway. It's frustrating. But no, I wouldn't have put Tommy or Lindsay in there. It's irrelevant. It's Rachel and Jamie's story. Moshi, or Moshi maybe, says, hey, Dave, can you please do the Devil's Eye speech from Halloween 1978 with the voice of Part 5 Loomis? Part 5 Loomis? You mean like he's crazy? The Devil's Eye speech. I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him and another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. There you go. Loomis losing his shit. Oh, you guys are crazy. David versus Goliath sends in a super chat. Thanks, man. Says, I'm late. You missed my super chat the other day. I did? Oh, okay. Well, at me, David, and let me know what it is. You don't have to send it in again. Just at me right now and let me know what it was, and I'll answer it for you, buddy. Juan Rivera says, sup, Dave? Sup, Juan. Do you view Michael Loomis' relationship to be sort of father and son? Chances were there for the Shape to kill him, but never did. Oh, there were chances for him to Shape to kill him, but never did. I don't really see it as a father-son relationship. I just think that he's, it's like, there's a level of, now again, we're talking about the franchise, not the original intent of the character, because this would never happen in the original intent. I think there's a level of subconscious respect. You know what I mean? That the character of Michael within the franchise has for Loomis. He's not thinking about it. He's not thinking, oh, I really like this man. No, he's not thinking that. It's unconscious to him. But he's an authority. He's been there since he was a little boy. So I don't think it's necessarily maybe it's a good point. It's definitely maybe more of a paternal thing. Like perhaps you could be right. But I don't necessarily think. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. There's definitely a level of something there, that he always seems to think twice about, right, before actually stepping into making any sort of decision like murdering him. So yeah, I think you're onto something there, but there's no evidence of it. It's just an assumption. But certainly there is a history there, whether it's, a father-like figure or just a teacher-like figure, right? I mean, there's definitely a history there. And that can often, it's somebody you have an attachment to. It's a different level, and when I say attachment, there's a different level of emotional, there's a different level of emotional, there's a different level of emotional awareness when it comes to Loomis for Michael in the series. Agent Priest says, Dave, you have good Halloween 5 ideas, bro. Thank you very much, Agent. Appreciate that, man. Ethan LeBlanc sends a super chat and says, in the H-18 movie novelization, it's mentioned that Myers' house was demolished. So maybe it's only back via the flashback. Well, that's what I said, right? I said that, yeah. Now, again, you don't have to do everything that the book says. You don't have to do that at all. But certainly, as I've mentioned on this channel a number of times, I've said, the question is not, is the Myers house back? You know, apparently it is. The question is, how is it back? Is it a fundamental, you know, piece of the narrative? And if so, is it part of the flashback only, or is it part of the story? Do Tommy and Lindsay go over to the house, go into the house, you know, or is it just, you just see it in the background while they're driving down the street? There's so many different ways, right? So I like to sort of focus on that. But you're right. In the book, it was said it was demolished. And it just goes to show you how, you know, anyway. Yeah. So my guess is that this is my guess. I think, and I haven't, this is just going by getting inside the head of a filmmaker. I will predict, and I could be wrong on this, that you see the Myers house in the flashback, and that's where he's apprehended. That's my guess. That's a guess. That's not that could be a spoiler, I guess, but I'm not saying that is what's going to happen. That is my guess, that he's apprehended at the Myers house. I don't want to see the apprehension. I don't want to see him thrown in handcuffs in the back of a squad car, but I think that's, you know, he leaves the Doyle house hurt, injured, hobbles down an alley. Don't want to see him hobbling, you know, don't need to see that. We can just see a trail of blood, for Christ's sakes. And he's apprehended, you know, we know that he's apprehended at the Myers house or something like that. Like maybe they go inside and, oh, what's going on? You know, or woo, you know, you see it outside and he's like, you know, looking out the window or something. Yeah, there you go. The Myers house returns, right? Maybe it's something like that, or maybe not. Or maybe it's that and then someone else. Who knows? But it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely back. Chris Unwin says, where's Dave versus Goliath? Yeah, I wanted to get his little super chat here. Okay, great, David, thank you. My question was, do you enjoy the scene with Loomis and the pastor in Halloween 4? I do like that, man. I do, yeah. It's a fun scene. I think that guy should have been old Charlie Bowles, maybe. Maybe he had a little name tag on his sweater or shirt or something that said like Charlie or something like that. I think that would be funny. I think that'd be funny. But I do like the scene. I do. I think it's funny how Dr. Loomis's makeup looks awful in that scene though. Jesus. Did I not? Chris Unwin. Yes. Chris Unwin says, hey Dave, do you think they will kill off Cameron in H Kills? No. I think I can see them killing Lonnie because he's expendable. Nobody likes him anyway. But Cameron, I still think is redeemable because he's young. And I think he can become a man that his father wasn't, or his father was incapable of, or couldn't because of the trauma that he experienced in his life. So I don't think they're going to kill Cameron because I think there's a lot of potential for Cameron. Not potential to carry on into spin-offs. I just mean within confines of I froze there for a minute, but I am back. Everything's okay. There was a bit of a hiccup there, but I'm back. So I was just saying that within the confines of the universe, this story, I think there is room for Cameron as a teenager to grow, you know, and to be somebody. So I don't think he's going to die, but I think his dad will. Let me see. Diehard Drummer 84 says, Dave, would Mikey and the Camaro make an appearance in your film? No. No, not at all. Not at all, my man. Not at all. Frank Riker sends in a super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, Dave gave Blum a perm. God, Frank is so connected. He's amazing. Gave Blum a perm, and he told me how Michael dies and ends. Whew, fascinating. Apparently, witnessing the death of his friend Tukey, the parrot, goes crazy. Is it Tukey? Tukey the parrot and goes crazy and claws Michael's eyes out. Wait a minute. Wait, let me read that again. Apparently, witnessing the death of his friend Tukey, the parrot goes crazy and claws Michael's eyes out again. It's insane. It's insane. Frank, you are so connected. I mean, you were like, I think you were like fly fishing with Jason Blum in the Congo. I mean, it's incredible, Frank. Frank is, he's in there, man. Frank's in there. Shad Got Game sends in a super chat. Thank you, Shad. Says, I'm a big fan of Michael Myers' bandage look from Halloween 4. Dude, you and me both. I would have gone with that. For sure. I think that would have been interesting because there's no need. I mean, look, I understand that white mask is part of the brand identity of Michael, but in 1988, that mask was burned. So you could have continued with Michael in the bandages, maybe see how it played out. If everything else was this, that would have been, I am a huge fan of the way he looked there. And I would have been totally down with that carrying on. Now, that doesn't mean that he carries on like that through the whole movie, but it would have been cool. Or maybe when you do Halloween 5, he gets a mask. Oh, I just thought of something. Oh my God. Imagine. I should have talked about this earlier. Imagine Halloween 4, he's got the bandaged look, right? All through the movie, okay? In my version of Halloween 5, one of the reports that comes over the radio as they're following this trail of bodies leading to Smith's Grove is that a hardware store was broken into, or some sort of store that was broken into that would lead you to believe that maybe some masks were there. You know what I mean? Like a Halloween or something like broke into such and such store, and Meeker's like, how bad is the damage? Oh, it doesn't look too bad. Just a couple of Halloween masks on the floor. Say a couple Halloween masks on the floor. Don't say Halloween mask was taken. You just say some masks were on the floor. Creates the impression that he was rummaging through or, whatever, right? So we as an audience are smart enough to go, oh, if there's a mess of something there, whatever. He found the white mask. And the first time we see it is, like I said in my thing, there it is. The cop is there, rain teeming down, and the white mask emerges from the darkness. We haven't seen that since part 2. Oh! Because in the 4th movie, it was the bandages. But now it's like on his way. Oh, he stopped to break in and get this mask or something. Oh, man, I'm telling you. Dude, I'm telling you, that is hot stuff. I think that would be hot. And you're like, oh my, it's not the bandages coming out of the darkness. It's the mask that you haven't seen in years. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Excuse me. Aaron Click says, Dave, would you consider doing a show on the dumbest moments in the Halloween franchise if you haven't already? That could be a hilarious and great show. Yeah, I think I've talked about the dumbest moments in certain of the films, but I might. I've sort of exhausted it though, but I might. Joe Zamora says the Freddy and Jason remakes didn't even do good in the box office, and Freddy was too small in 2010. Well, Freddy wasn't actually too small. He was a different frame. Like, Robert Englund's not a tall guy. I know in his bio it says like he's 5'11" or 6 foot. He's not. I'm telling you right now, Robert's not that tall. He might be. I'm 5'8". I'm not a tall guy. He might be a smidgy taller than me. Put boots on me or whatever, and I can get to 5'9", which is the same height as Dick Warlock in part 2. I mean, Robert Englund's not a tall guy. He's 5'10" at best. Jackie Earle Haley's my height. Put boots on him. He's about 5. He's about, give or take it, a little, he's about the same size as Robert, a little bit shorter, I would say, probably. But certainly it's not as a drastic change as you would think. But I liked what Jackie did. I think what would have helped Jackie too is that I think the glove in the remake looked quite big on Jackie's hand. It looked like a claw. Now that might have been the original intent, was to do that, to have this, I don't know, Shredder Ninja Turtle type claw or something. But because he's not a big guy, it actually makes him look smaller. And it looks like he's wearing like a glove that's just too big for his hand. I think maybe if they had sort of had it like how they did in the other films, it might have made him look a little better. I'm not saying that is the reason, but certainly it's something I've noticed about the film. But you're right, though. They didn't do very well at the box office. Well, the Friday the 13th remake did okay in its first week, but then it dropped off. Let me just scroll back here. Philip Rouse says, what's up, Dave? What's up, Philip? I just wanted to say thanks for your vids during these crazy times. Thanks for brightening up my day. Well, thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you for supporting the channel and sending that in. And, I really appreciate it. I really do. It's a crazy world out there right now, man. It's crazy. There's a lot of crazy things going on, just stay safe out there and don't get caught up in the emotional bait. Don't get caught up in the emotional bait. Just stay cool, calm, and collected. Justin Simonson sends in a super chat and says, plot twist for H ends. They take off the mask and it's William Shatner. Ooh, that'd be a funny spoof. That'd be funny. I'd be down for that. Not in the actual movie, but, as like a skit on Saturday Night Live or something. I think that'd be funny. Let me see here. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, would you think this would have been a great twist for Halloween 4? Rachel and Brady were revealed at the end to be Lindsay and Tommy and had changed their names so Michael would not find them. Well, I would have chosen different actors. I wouldn't have chosen the actors because they don't look anything like what Tommy and Lindsay would have looked like just 7 or 8 years later. Because Brady and Rachel are supposed to be 17, right? 17, 18, something like that. So that's only about 8-9 years removed from how old they were in the original. So I wouldn't have chosen them. If that was my goal, if that was my intent, and I was the casting director, and I was told to go out and find those, I wouldn't have casted them. So now the idea of the characters of Rachel and Lindsay being of Rachel and Brady being Tommy and Lindsay, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's an interesting. I'd be down for exploring that and seeing if it feels right, seeing if it works. My only concern would be, is it too convenient? Is it too coincidental? When it is revealed, kind of like, oh, really? You know what I mean? I don't want it to feel shoehorned in or anything like that. So that would be my only concern there. But it's interesting. I like that. I like what you're thinking there. I'd be okay with exploring it. Let's see here. Billy Van sends in a super chat. Thank you, Billy. Says, just now, Loomis came to my house selling cookies. He told me the alternate H5 movie idea. Michael turned into a magical unicorn to spread love and happiness through the film, learning from his mistakes. I heard about that. I heard about that one, Billy. Amazing, isn't it? You and Frank and Darren, you got all this information and you're saying all that. It's unbelievable. Are you traveling around the world with Frank? I think you and Frank might have the same connections. Fascinating. I think I heard a early draft of that one. Just amazing stuff. Matthew Hadsamelia says, Dave, do you have a better title for the film or any of the Halloween films? For this film, instead of Halloween 5, the Revenge of Michael Myers? Actually, I think with my idea that I talked about, I think the title actually fits. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. I think the title, The Revenge, is earned in my idea. It really feels like a revenge. You know what I mean? So I probably would have left the title the same. It may not have been up to me. I mean, the subtitle might have been up to the studio. but I certainly would have been okay with it under those circumstances. Is there a title I don't like in the Halloween franchise? There's always subtitles that, I mean, I'm not a fan of Halloween. I'm not a fan of Resurrection, because it seems like resurrection, resurgence, redemption, like those three they're always used. I think you can come up with a better title than Resurrection. H2O was, I don't know. I think it's too self-aware. I think H2O was too self-aware. I mean, there was a rumor that it was going to be Halloween H2O, Blood is Thicker Than Water. And the H2O actually stands for, I mean, I never really liked the title H2O. I understand it stands for 20 years later, Halloween 20. I get it. But I just think that, I don't know. I don't know. I've never been crazy on it. Never liked Halloween Resurrection. I'm a big fan. Now, I understand that it gets silly the more you go forward. And this is one of the reasons why Hollywood, many years ago, started to transition into losing the numbers. They might have numbers in the first couple, but then they start to lose the numbers. And I understand why they did that. There's some benefits to marketing. And obviously, it's psychological. When you hear like, I don't know, Halloween 19, it just sounds cheesy. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds dumb. I mean, there's a reason why in Back to the Future Part 2, there's a couple of reasons why, but in Back to the Future Part 2, when Marty's in the future and he sees, the Jaws thing, right, come up and it says Jaws 19. Well, there's a couple of reasons why. Number one is they're making fun of two things. They're making fun of the Jaws franchise because Jaws: The Revenge Part 4 had just come out in 1987. So probably very shortly before they started shooting this movie. And the idea of another shark is just like, another shark? And the subtitle to Jaws: The Revenge was, "This time it's personal." It's like, so the shark has a conscious awareness of who he's going to kill and who he's not. It's just, he's going after this one. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So they're making fun of the franchise, but they're making fun of, the idea of this inevitable, 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, Jaws 19. It sounds stupid. Put any movie in front of 19 and it sounds dumb. I don't care what. The Godfather 19, The Shawshank Redemption Part 19. It sounds dumb because it's this excessive, like, Jesus, because God, I still, it's just, it's crazy. So, I like the, I'm a big fan of, but I'm old school and I like things like, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Halloween 4. But I do acknowledge that there's got to be an end. You have to end your story somewhere. Not just because you don't want to go on and have Halloween 19, but because I'm a huge proponent on perpetuating and talking about the value of stories ending. There's value in that, that having a story come to its natural conclusion. It's very, very important. But yeah, I mean, I think the title Halloween, the Revenge of Michael Myers, for my idea anyway, I think would have been all right. Let me see here. Billy Van sends in a super chat and says, just now Loomis came to my house selling cookies. He told me the alternate H5 movie idea. Michael turned into a magic. Oh, I just read that. That's right. For some reason, I thought it began differently. That's so weird. Okay, I read that. Charles Lee Ray is here and sends in a very generous super chat. Thank you so much, Chucky. Says, what I would have done for Halloween 6 is have the ending of H5, Police Station Breakout, and Man in Black all be a dream that Jamie would have had at the beginning of H6. In reality, Jamie is 17, Michael. In reality, Jamie is 17. Michael is on death row. Interesting. Chat room, how do you think about that? That's an interesting idea right there. That's an interesting idea. Darren Sand says numbers equal fatigue. That's right. That's basically it. Darren just essentially encapsulated everything that I was trying to say in that. That's what I was trying to say. I go on, but of course I'm doing it in my own Dave McCrae way. Yes, definitely. Numbers equal fatigue. You know what I mean? And it's psychological. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're calling your films Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, or you're calling them Halloween 1, 2, 3, Resurrection, Redemption, Resurgence. It's still the 10th, 11th, 12th film, but psychologically to the audience, it's better for marketing. And that's right. Numbers equal fatigue. Numbers equal fatigue. I'm going to write that down. Numbers, that's good, Darren. That's good. I like that. Save me 10 minutes. Mohammed Camber says, Dave, are you a fan of Edward Norton? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like Edward Norton. Fight Club was such an amazing movie and performance. An all-timer, to be honest. I haven't seen that movie in a while. But I'm definitely a fan of Edward Norton. Yes, I liked him in the 2000 film he did with Robert De Niro called The Score. I just spat there. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully that I didn't get anybody wet in the front row there. Time to take a swig of water. Yeah, I like that movie. I saw that in the theater. I thought that was a really good movie, The Score, with him and Robert De Niro. If you haven't seen that, check it out. That movie was shot up here in Montreal. Okay, let me just see here. AK Channel TV says, I was watching one of your older videos yesterday, and I remember you saying that they came too close to crossing the line of humanizing Michael in H-18, and I was wondering in what part way. Well, I think showing too much of him is what I'm saying. So seeing him out in the courtyard, it's a great scene in and of itself. But when we're talking about preserving the enigma of Michael, you're playing with fire. Whenever you show Michael during the daytime, or show whether you're showing him as Michael during the daytime, or whether you're showing him as, Michael in terms of in the suit and the mask, or whether you're showing him in chains and shackles and a white, jumpsuit. Whenever you show Michael Myers in whatever form during the daytime, you run the risk of humanizing him too much. And what I mean by that is that we as an audience are seeing him in vulnerable situations, right? So we're seeing him in chains. We're seeing him in shackles, right? They're kind of there. There's a vulnerability there. We're seeing the back of his head. We know he's bald. We know he has gray hair. We know he's got gray hair on his arms and his knuckles. And it's not like he wouldn't have these things anyway. He's still a person. He's not an entity. He's not a supernatural entity that materialized out of thin air. He's not a demon. He's not a ghost. He's not a spirit. He is a person. Whatever is inside of him is the unknown factor. But we want to preserve the integrity of the boogeyman. And so less is always more when it comes to Michael in terms of seeing him. Now, some people have said, yeah, but you saw him during the day in the original. It's like, yes, you did, but you always saw him from a distance. So when Laurie is walking along the sidewalk with Annie, he's at a distance. When she's in the classroom looking out the window, he's at a distance. When she's upstairs in the bedroom looking out the window, he's at a distance, and he's in the, amongst the laundry sheets, and he's getting closer and closer, but he's always at a distance, right? There's that disconnect. He's that storm that I often say is on the horizon. He's the dark clouds you see rolling on in. But whenever you see him close up, in any close proximity, it's at nighttime, because now the storm has arrived. You know what I mean? And now you can utilize light and shadow, and you can show him close to the screen because it works. You know what I mean? You can play around with you don't want to see him out in broad daylight. I like the shot in H-18 of him closing the trunk and seeing him through the back of the window, the back window. I think that's a great shot, but it's during the daytime. Why is it during the daytime? Do you know how much more effective that shot would have been if that was at night? Do you know how much more effective the scene would have been if he murdered Dana and what's his face there, Aaron, in the bathroom at night, and maybe it's dark in the bathroom and there's one little fluorescent light on the corner going, and he comes in and it's dark in there and you don't really see him, but he's causing it. Much more effective, much more in line with the boogeyman. And that's what I mean by that, is that we're seeing him too much, and too much in situations where I don't think we should. So that's what I mean by that. Ethan LeBlanc sends a super chat, says, gonna see H Kills on opening night or gonna wait a few days? All depends. If TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, goes off. Now, there hasn't been an announcement yet. So I suspect that TIFF is trying to put everything online. I suspect that the in-person stuff will be canceled. The Toronto International Film Festival happens usually about the second week of September. I suspect that it'll be canceled. But I suspect that the reason why we haven't heard anything yet is because before they announce that, they want to announce that they're moving everything online and they're trying to figure out the logistics of how to do that. And 2 years ago, of course, TIFF was where Halloween had its world premiere. And I attended it. So if they do the same thing, whether in person or not, if it's not in person, we all might be able to attend. But yeah, so I definitely, if I don't get to see it at the world premiere, if it is an in-person thing, I don't know if I'll go see it opening weekend or opening night, but definitely I will go see it in the theater, and I'll probably go see it with Bruce. But I'm hoping that TIFF does still happen, and I'm able to go see it at the world premiere, because that was a lot of fun to do, and I had great seats. I had a guy that I knew that was able to get me great. We were about, I think, maybe 4 or 5 rows from the screen, from the stage. It was at the Winter Garden Theater, and this is a theater. This is where they do like theater stage plays. It was held there, beautiful theater right downtown Toronto. It was great. Had a lot of fun. So maybe I'll do that again. But I'm not sure. We'll see. Darren Sand says Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day? What's going on? Groundhog Day? Oh, Groundhog Day in terms of, you must be talking to Frank or something. I don't know what's going on there. I'm lost. I'm out of the loop. Let's see if we can scroll. I got to get going here. So let's see if we can scroll through these super chats. TMB sends a super chat, says, just like nothing will stop the return of the Sith, nothing will stop It's Me, Billy. You damn right, TMB. You damn right. We are, like I said at the beginning of the show, we are hopefully going to launch our Indiegogo campaign 1st of July. Which is, funny enough, is Canada Day. That's like our Independence Day here. That's not why we're doing it, but or the first week or something like that. I mean, if we can launch sooner, maybe we will. We're hoping to shoot our teaser for our Indiegogo teaser. I gotta say, it's an Indiegogo teaser for the movie, because if I just say teaser, people are gonna think it's gonna be this extravagant, lavish teaser with all sorts of footage. It's not. I mean, we haven't shot the movie yet, so it's for the Indiegogo. But it'll be good. It'll be just a little something, not crazy, nothing crazy, just a little something to whet your appetite. And so we hope to shoot that in a couple of weeks. So, but yeah, we're hoping we can raise the production budget. Like I said on the show the other day, ballpark, we're looking to raise about 45,000 US, which is about 60,000 or so Canadian. That's what we have broken down in our production budget that we need in order to fulfill perks and to complete the vision of this film. Now, if we can raise more, that's always great. It will go right back into the production and will help. Maybe we'll be able to take, instead of taking 6 days to shoot, we can now take 8 days to shoot, right? And because we have more money. So to raise more is always good because it always goes right back in and helps. So our fingers are crossed. We know we're at a bit of a disadvantage, like I said on the show the other day, because obviously this is a Black Christmas fan film. It's not an extraordinarily popular IP. If we were doing an Elm Street, Friday the 13th, or Halloween film, we might be able to make 45,000 in our sleep, or raise that in our sleep. But we know that with Black Christmas, we're going to have to work extra hard, and we're going to have to count on you guys to work extra hard out there too, to spread the word and, to share it on social media when it launches and all that kind of stuff. And because it's going to be tough. I mean, maybe it won't be. Maybe everybody will be so engaged and have been saving up money to be able to help support, and maybe we'll be able to raise it in a relatively short period of time. But we do know that it's you know, we're gonna, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. So we're under no delusions, but we are confident. We believe in the project. We believe in you guys, and hopefully you guys believe in us. So yeah. All right. Let me see here. Just going to get these last super chats. Anthony Stanfield says, thoughts on what they are going to do with the Myers house in Kills. Well, like I said earlier in the show, I think it will probably be something that will be in the flashback. And if it is, maybe that's where Michael is apprehended. He's apprehended there. Now, I don't want to see him apprehended, obviously, but that's where he goes, and that's where they find him. So that's a guess that I have right now. Now, whether that, you know, in retrospect, you look back at this a year from now and be like, oh, that was a spoiler, because that is what happens. I don't know that. I'm just taking a guess. That's speculation. I have no idea. If you do know that to be true, please do not mention that in the comments section below, and do not mention it in the chat room here. My moderators have the ability to remove those things here in the chat, and they also have the ability to remove comments in the comment section below. So one of my mods, if they see that, they'll just, you know, remove it. So don't be a dick if you really do know. I'm just speculating. Let me see here. Frank Riker says, super chat for all the sexy motherfuckers in the chat. Yes, yes, Frank, yes. Frank going hard into the paint right at the end there. Frank, you are amazing. You are amazing, Frank. I don't think I've missed any super chats. I think I got them, Frank. TMB, Ethan, Charles E. Ray, Billy Van. Yeah, it's Simon Twist, and William Shatner. I think I've got everything. You guys are amazing. Awesome stuff. Okay, folks, that is going to do it for me on episode 64 of MCRAE Live. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank my moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Shore, Jason Knight, Darren Sands, for keeping the chat room going. I mean, you guys are amazing. You guys are here all the time. You guys, I see you guys talking. I see you mentioning certain things, and every once in a blue moon, you'll have to time somebody out or whatever. But the really good thing about this community and what we're building here is that it's very rare. It's like the chat room, you know, you got almost 200 people in here, and everybody's chill. Everybody's awesome. And that's awesome. I love to see that. It just makes these shows much more enjoyable to do, because I can just focus on talking to you guys and answering your questions. I don't have to focus on, hang on, what's going on here? I mean, every now and then you're going to get somebody in there like a Devontae Huntley. But it's so great to see that we have such a cool community here of well-mannered folks, let's just say. So yeah, I will be back tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 65 of MCRAE Live. So make sure you tune in for that. What I'm talking about yet, I am not entirely sure, but you will definitely find out tomorrow morning. And thank you for all the super chats as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the non-super chats and the questions and just the conversation you guys are having back and forth. I just love to see that. I really do. It makes these shows much more fun to do and much more fun to look forward to do. So I really do appreciate that. And hey, if you haven't liked the It's Me Billy Facebook page, the link is in the description. Like the It's Me Billy Facebook page to keep up to date with what's going on. I think we got about 400 likes so far, which is great. Would love to get to 1,000. And I think we can do it. But if it interests you, check it out below and let me know. And if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts on my Halloween 5 idea. Would love to know. All right, folks, that'll do it for me. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. Cheers.